Hello everyone. I know I said this video was coming around Thanksgiving, but I happened to find an opportunity to upload it earlier. I want to say that this will probably be the last time I try to make the character talk, as this is a very time-consuming task and puts too much of my focus on that instead of the content. If I happen to figure out an easier way, I may try it again, but the labor results in something that isn't really worth all that effort and makes you have to wait even longer for a scripted and recorded video just so I can make the character's mouth move. I've come up with a few ideas though that will make the videos better, and as you can tell, I have figured out how to make the audio sound better. Just so you know, most of this video was recorded before that, so the audio isn't as clear as it is now, as the background noise of my power inverter's fan can be heard throughout it. Anyway, enjoy. Hey, here are 5 stupid things I've noticed about Steve Shives. Number 1, he doesn't understand the objections to feminist claims. No matter how many people respond to some of the claims he makes, citing sources, showing factual and statistical data, he simply does not or refuses to understand what the people are objecting to. A good example of this would be the wage gap, wherein he states in his 5 stupid things about the wage gap video, this:
its existence is still denied by some. The wage gap is a fact. I don't know how to say it any clearer than that. If you doubt that claim, the major sources I've used to write this video are linked in the description box. Check them out. Or better yet, do your own research. You'll find, as I did, that the wage gap exists for virtually all women, all around the world. Though it varies in size, it exists for women of all ages, of all races, in virtually all occupations. It exists for married women and single women. It exists for women without children and women with children. I suppose we could argue about what causes it, how much of it is directly attributable to sex discrimination versus other factors, but the thing we cannot do is deny it. And the thing we must not do is ignore it.
Instead of acknowledging that people are simply objecting to the wage gap being caused by a white privileged male conspiracy against women, he strawmans their objections into misogynistic denials of the wage gap's existence. He refuses to acknowledge the statistical data that people point out showing that women make less money because of the choices they make, starting with chosen college degree programs and moving all the way to the decisions some mothers make to stay home and take care of the kids. Number 2. He relies on vacuous truths to make his points. This is a fallacy wherein a very vague and broad but true statement is made with the intent to mislead. Basically, it's lying by telling the truth in a dishonest context. This is a favorite tool of some of the most outspoken feminist activists, especially the ones who take pride in their perceived victimhood. Steve is no different. His entire video on the wage gap is filled with fallacious reasoning, all backed with a subtext of vacuous truth. It is a step-by-step process of facts, mixed in with subtle false claims. Here in this clip is a great example.
The wage gap also grows the more educated women become. Even though there are now more women than men enrolling in college, a woman with a bachelor's degree can expect to earn just 71% of what a man with a bachelor's degree earns. And women with graduate degrees earn 69% of what men with graduate degrees earn.
By stating that women with bachelor's degrees and even advanced degrees earn less money than men with bachelor's degrees, despite more women actually having such degrees, he is stating something that is technically true. But he does not elaborate and would not dare to, because of the false perception he wants his audience to have of this fact, that women with a PhD in neuroscience with equal experience, educational achievement, and time on the job makes less than a male counterpart. This simply is not true. The truth that Steve is doing his best to hide here is that those research or studies he is using to back his claim do not go into details that are important, such as which degree, which advanced degree, how much experience or time on the job is involved, and how much time is taken off work. These details matter to someone who is wanting to know the true cause of the gap and if there is anything that can be done about it. They do not matter to someone who has a preconceived notion on what causes it, and these details might falsify that preconceived notion. Number 3. He is smug and indignant in his dishonesty. While this one can definitely be seen as a subjective perception of his mannerism, it is not without merit. If you disagree with Steve's claims, he either smugly dismisses you as less knowledgeable, or if you back your claims with facts, he becomes indignant to the point of flinging insults as a way to refute what you have to say. This is called, as everyone knows, ad hominem, and by calling Sargon of Akkad a misogynist prick in an attempt to dismiss what Sargon has said, Steve committed this fallacy. Number 4. He does his best to avoid answering any valid criticism. While this can certainly be considered part of number 3, it deserves its own slot because of his video series, You Had to Ask. Now, I haven't seen every single one of these, but in the ones I have seen, he soft-serves himself the most mundane or self-confirming questions. If you look at the comments section of his videos, though, you'll see a lot of questions bringing up some of these things I have said in this video, and things others have brought up too. He ignores these questions completely, preferring to respond to people who just agree with him in the form of a question, which leads me to number 5. He refuses to question his own convictions. When someone accused him of having feminism as his religion, he dismissed it by defining religion as the worship of a god. That's fine in the way the person told him he isn't an atheist. However, there is a lot of validity in seeing or referring to his brand of feminism as a religion. The listen and believe mantra screams of religious faith. The refusal to accept that his beliefs are not supported by the facts, that screams of religious devotion. The attempt to tell other atheists that they should adopt his feminist ideas screams of religious proselytizing. The attempt to conflate feminist ideology to atheism screams of religious indoctrination. The scorn of those who don't believe or agree with him screams of religious excommunication. And the ad hominem attacks against those who disagree with him scream of religious use of thought-terminating cliché fallacies. Finally, in his entire 5 Stupid Things series, the following words have never been spoken with more truth than I say them now. The hardest part is only picking 5. So I'm not gonna. Number 6. He never suggests practical fixes for any of the problems he perceives, and in fact doesn't think he should have to. In the recent debate he had with Queenie Martha, he said that just because a woman sees something as a problem doesn't mean she should have to contribute to fixing that problem. Well, I disagree, because if you're doing nothing but pointing out subjectively perceived problems without even attempting to suggest practical fixes, you are not an activist. You're a whiner. A whinovist, if you would. You are not acting on anything. You're just bitching. Even suggesting practical fixes wouldn't really be enough, but at least that's something. But the only suggestion feminists seem to have is to educate men about women's issues, such as rape. This is dumb. First, I shouldn't be required to attend a meaningless course teaching me not to rape, mainly because I'm not a rapist, but also because it would achieve nothing. Rapists will still rape. At the end of his video on the wage gap, he says this.
But the thing we cannot do is deny it. And the thing we must not do is ignore it.
No suggestions, just an insistence that it can't be ignored. Considering his presupposed cause of the gap, I'm not surprised. So, we can't ignore it, and he shouldn't have to fix it, even though he isn't even clear on what caused it. So, more whining and expecting society to cater to that whining, something it is not obligated to do. Okay, Steve, considering you are a subscriber to my channel, and this video is about you, there is a chance you might actually watch it. So I want to address you directly. First, I am not an anti-feminist. I am anti-dishonesty. I am against using poor reasoning, faulty research, and misrepresenting truth to forward a dialogue. I could have kept going and talked about your misuse of statistical data, citing your dishonest representation of gun-related deaths in Mexico versus US, and showing yet another example of a vacuous truth. But what really motivated this video was your assertion that atheism and feminism naturally go together. When atheism is a lack of belief in a god and nothing more, it doesn't naturally lead one to any ideology, including modern feminism. But don't take my word for it, Steve. I won't do you the same disservice or show you the same disrespect of telling you that you have to subscribe to my definition of what an atheist is in order to be a true atheist. Besides, you wouldn't listen to it anyway. So I'll close with a clip of someone saying what an atheist is, someone you might be more willing to listen to.
I'm here to be honest with you because the desire to be honest with others and with oneself is a big part of atheism, at least for me. So I'm not going to pat your hand and assure you that we atheists respect your beliefs and only want you to respect ours in return. I'm going to explain what atheism is and what it means to be an atheist the best way I can. And then you can begin to decide for yourselves whether I am an enemy or a friend. So let's talk about that dictionary definition for a minute. An atheist, very simply defined, is someone who does not believe in any God. That's really the only qualification. If you don't believe in any God, then you're an atheist, regardless of what else you believe.